Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome to everybody listening in on radio and TV and everybody streaming. You know who you are. Everybody on Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us there. Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, favorite restaurants, favorite recipes, make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Our friends over at Vacation Buddies want to give you a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to this simple trivia question. Which of these three is the tallest structure in Las Vegas? Is it A, the Stratosphere Tower at the Strat, B, the Fontainebleau Hotel and Casino, or C, the Eiffel Tower at the Paris Hotel and Casino? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas or in Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, it's that time, folks, and we're going to run over the Associated Press Top 25 after seeing the mayhem and madness that happened just over the past weekend. And so we're starting out, of course, with those receiving votes and then working our way up. Memphis did get 1 vote. Vegas got a couple votes. Illinois got 5 votes. None of these are ranked, of course. San Diego State, the Aztecs get 5. Arizona State gets 7, minus some of their star players. SMU getting 8. Houston Cougars getting 43. Iowa, the Hawkeyes getting 54. Longhorns of Texas, 55, who have, I believe they start out the season, if I'm not mistaken, ranked number 1. Well, guess what? Let's go ahead and correct that because it's North Texas. Well, it might as well be Texas anyway. Texas, in my opinion, they're not very good. North Texas getting 55. Missouri getting 59 votes. A pretty good Missouri team. Tulane, the Green Wave, getting 83. And working our way now into the top 25. And it's South Florida. You know, those guys are pretty good, but you never know which team's going to show up, in my opinion. Although they are 7-2 overall, pretty good. Here's the one to watch, folks. If you don't know, I've been talking about them all year, and that's the Dukes from James Madison University. How do you like that? Those guys, they're 8-1 out of the Sun Belt, and these guys got a real shot to make the college football playoff. If I'm not mistaken, it's about a 35% chance to make the playoff. How do you like that? University of Pittsburgh, the Panthers are 7-2 out of the ACC. Cincinnati jumps up 3 slots in the Big 12 from number 25 up to number 22 at 7-2. Tennessee jumps up a couple of slots in the SEC at 6-3, number 21. The Virginia Wahoos, you can call them the Cavaliers, they dropped 8 slots all the way down. They tumbled down to number 20 in the improbable, unthinkable loss. Who knew? Louisville, they lose 5 slots in the loss themselves. They drop down to number 19, and that yet another ACC team, showing that the ACC is not very good in football at this point. And then it was Michigan climbing 3 slots with their win up to number 18, and they're 7-2 overall. USC also 7-2. They jumped up 3 slots with their win over Northwestern. That was out at the Mausoleum, but you can call it the Coliseum. Miami, the Hurricanes, with a very, very easy win, although they did not cover the spread. And that was the best pick I had all week, and that was from Sal the Bookmaker, getting 28.5 with Syracuse. That was my key game I gave away. Guess what? They lost by 28, so they won by what? They won by the hook.
Show me the money!
That's right. Everybody that got it at 28.5, you got themselves a real nice winner there. Utah jumps up a couple. They're at 7-2, up to number 15. Now, Georgia Tech, with their first loss, Georgia Tech, actually their second loss, or no, let's say this differently. This week they win. The week previous, apparently, they lost. Yep. So they're at 8-1. They go up 2 slots to number 14. And Georgia Tech is a pretty good ACC team, probably the only one that really is worthy of anything out of the ACC right now. Vanderbilt got themselves one hell of a wild win in that game. And folks, if you didn't see the Vanderbilt game, that's one of those ones you just go ahead and you rewatch because you didn't know what was going to happen there. And that was a really, really fun game to watch. And if I'm not mistaken, that was against Missouri. Now, Brigham Young lost their first game of the season, and they're down to number 12. They dropped 4 slots to number 12. Texas Tech beat them handily. Oklahoma, it looks like a paperclip with that O and the U. So Oklahoma stays steady at number 11. There are the Texas Longhorns. They're at number 10. Not to be confused with North Texas Mean Green. Gotta like the Mean Green. Anyway, Texas jumped up 3 slots with theirs. They're at 7-2 overall. Notre Dame is at 7-2. Of course, they don't even play a conference championship game because they don't want to be in a conference for football. No, but they'll be in one in basketball, won't they? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Texas Tech, as I said, with their win over Brigham Young, they jump up from number 9 to number 8 in the AP Top 25, and they're at number 8. Texas Tech will be in the college football playoff, barring some unforeseen chaos. Same thing with Notre Dame. Also, number 7, Oregon. Despite a win, they drop 1 slot from number 6 to number 7. They're 8-1 overall. Ole Miss easily beating the doormat of the Citadel, 49-0. Well, they're at 9-1, and they're a lock for the college football playoff, and so are these 5 teams above them. Georgia at 8-1, number 5. Alabama 8-1, number 4. Texas A&M goes to 9-0 with their win. I think they're the ones that have the Missouri game. Indiana with a wild finish at Happy Valley in a last-second touchdown. Indiana ends up stunning Penn State in that game, 27-24. And then you have Ohio State at 9-0, basically beating a team that they were supposed to beat. And frankly, they didn't do it big enough. They only won by a couple of touchdowns in West Lafayette, Indiana. A little bit of an embarrassment for Ohio State, when those guys probably should be number 2 in the rankings, maybe even number 3. I think Texas A&M has a tougher schedule, and I certainly know Indiana's got a tougher schedule, but Indiana's the only team in America that is 10-0, and somehow they have, well, I'll tell you right now, they have 1,549 votes, or points, I should say, and only 6 votes to be the number 1 team, whereas Ohio State has 1,610 points, which is still 61 more than Indiana. I don't understand that one. When they have 1 less loss, and they have a less, I guess the word I want to use is what? They have a easier schedule up to this point. So, it seems to me that Indiana should be ranked number one. I've been saying it all season, seemingly, and I'm going to say it again because they really are. Indiana is the better team. Now, the only way these two teams are going to play probably will be in the Big Ten championship, right? So you have to look at the tiebreakers and everything else, and we're going to get to that in a second here. But as I look at these teams, I say, okay, let's just give a quick recap in case you're just tuning in. So look, 19 teams in the AP Top 25, Top 25, I should say, they take new spots as the playoff matchups are coming. And of course, a month before the playoff matchups are set and things are unsettled according to the AP, the latest AP Top 25 is what I just read, and 19 of those teams are in different slots, including number 10, Texas, who I had alluded to. Top 5, of course, I said Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia. They were all unchanged. Number 11, Oklahoma, was the only other team that stayed put. The other ones were on the move. Ole Miss swapped spots with Oregon, as I said. Texas Tech and Notre Dame both moved up. And frankly, when you look at this, you ask yourself, what's going to happen next week? Well, you might see some shifting around in this playoff thing. In fact, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the games to watch next week, and we're going to go over these standings and why they actually mean anything. And we'll see what happens here in the coming days because, folks, things are going to change dramatically in the NCAA football picture. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Back in a few minutes, folks.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas at the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, and that's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in to everybody else up and down the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and right here in Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. And that's home of the Raiders and home of the Vegas Golden Knights. Throughout the Midwest, all the way over to Auburn, Alabama, from Montgomery over to Columbus, Georgia, listening in on WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, 1230 on the AM dial. Thanks for joining us there, and thanks for waking up with us over in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM, plus all of our other affiliates, Cops, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectra, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates for television in select markets. Same thing with Hotel TV. Also social media on Pick Your Favorite Streamer, as well as on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, back here with college football. And looking at, we just ran over the top 25, and there's some games to watch next week. Number 10, Texas, is, well, they're actually number 11 in the college football playoff. Currently, of course, that's going to change quickly. And they play number 5, Georgia, also number 5 in the college football playoff. This game, of course, is one of those game of the weeks with huge implications for the SEC title race and playoff seeding. So, big question is, Texas coach Steve Sarkisian says, his team is playing its best football of the year. Arch Manning certainly is. But so is Georgia. So what's going to happen here? Just never mind the point spread. This one is basically for a lot of marbles. I won't say all of the marbles, because right there also in the SEC, you have number 11, Oklahoma, CFP number 12. Currently, that's going to change. At number 4, Alabama, and CFP number 4. I mean, look. Just like that Texas game, Texas, like Oklahoma, they've got a chance to upset the SEC title chase with what would be a huge upset on the road at Alabama up in Tuscaloosa. And this one shapes up as a matchup of Heisman contending quarterbacks, but now Alabama's Ty Simpson has pulled ahead of John Mateer. And listen, I don't care what these guys are saying, because right now it seems to me that Mendoza from Indiana, this guy is Heisman Doza, if you know what I mean. This guy is good. That's right. Watch out for Mr. Mendoza from Indiana as your potential Heisman Trophy winner. Or is he going to get done like Bo Nix did? Bo Nix, let me tell you something, folks. If you don't know, a couple of Heisman votings ago, it was Bo Nix that had the best numbers out of all the quarterbacks in there. But somehow, magically, Jaden Daniel ends up getting it. And I like Jaden. But somehow, Bo Nix with the best numbers out of all the quarterbacks, and I mean clearly the best numbers, he ended up getting the short end of the stick. In the same way last year that Ashton Jeanty did not get the Heisman Trophy, which he certainly should have won the Heisman Trophy. as he ranked. I mean, look, he really changed the game when he was on the field, whereas they gave it to Travis Hunter because he was a two-way player. That doesn't mean crap because Travis Hunter, he was good, but he wasn't great. What did he not do? He did not rank in the top 5 or even, I think, as a matter of fact, in the top 10 on offensive categories or defensive categories. But they gave it to him anyway because it seems to me that Deion Sanders may have lobbied a little bit hard for that to happen, and that unbelievably stinks. Sorry, folks. I don't like that one. All right, back to next week's games. How about number 9 and number 10 in CFP, currently Notre Dame? They're playing at Pittsburgh. And, folks, that is no easy task over there in Pittsburgh. That is a lunch pail kind of a city. I like the city of Pittsburgh. They have pretty good food, too. And so this will not be easy. Look, those guys from South Bend can't afford a third loss and hope to remain in the mix. But Pitt would like to get into the discussion. And I think with a big win, this could actually change everything. Because right now, as I see it, well, we're going to get into the CFP in a little bit. I think James Madison is going to sneak in there maybe at number 12. Nonetheless, we think about the balance of this. Look, right now, I'm going to make a prediction. And it's very similar to what the AP has in theirs. So what we have are your first round buys of those guys from Columbus. We have Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Those are the top 4 right now. I think that may even be subject to change because remember, Texas still has to play, or Texas A&M still has to play Texas, and you could throw the records right out the window there. And Ohio State still has to play Michigan, and that is at the Big House. So anything could happen there as well. I mean, think about that, folks. And Alabama, they still have to play War Eagle. And let me tell you something, folks. Throw the records out the window there, too, because you never know what the heck is going to happen. And Auburn can upset those guys because they could play with the best of them. And so, again, those are the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl. So that's what those things look like right now. With the Sugar Bowl going to Indiana, the Rose Bowl going to Ohio State, the Cotton Bowl going to Alabama, and the Orange Bowl going to Texas A&M as it stands right now. However, we have those higher seeded teams. Now, these are going to change here in the next day or two, so we'll see what happens. But right now, with the 7 and 10 matchup, Oregon would host Texas. Again, that will change. Ole Miss will host Georgia Tech as the number 11, being the leader of the ACC. Texas Tech, I think they're going to move up. Eventually, they're going to probably replace Alabama. Texas Tech would host Notre Dame. And Georgia would host the James Madison Dukes over in Athens, Georgia. Now, that would be one hell of a matchup. Folks, I got to tell you, this is one of those ones when one of the top 4 may not even advance past the quarterfinals. You never know because you've got some great matchups. I mean, think about this. At the bottom, let's just say Oregon gets another crack at Indiana. Well, guess what? It's going to be on a neutral field. Last time Oregon lost at home. Now, Oregon, I don't think they're going to beat Indiana, but Texas, who the hell knows? If Arch Manning is playing that well, who knows? It could be a defensive struggle. And offensive games favor Indiana. Defensive games don't necessarily favor them, although they played very well at Iowa. And they just played a pretty good game at Happy Valley. But again, we'll see what happens there. Ole Miss would really give Texas A&M a run for their money. Ole Miss probably would beat them, in my opinion, in an SEC matchup. I think Georgia Tech would have their fits with Texas A&M. Over with those guys from Columbus, they're going to have their hands full with either team they play. And I would imagine Texas Tech will beat those guys from South Bend, and Texas Tech and Ohio State would match up, and Texas Tech can beat that squad. And I have to believe either Georgia or James Madison, I don't give a damn which one plays Alabama, I think Alabama is due for an upset. Now, that would shake everything up. We haven't seen that before. I think we're going to see possibly a couple of those quarterfinal teams, one of the top 4s, fall in their first round. So I mean, think about this. James Madison of the Sun Belt would represent the group of 5 in the college football playoff on a bracket based on this week's rankings. Georgia Tech and Texas would also be among the top 12. James Madison, though, at number 24, is the highest-ranked Group of 5 team in the AP poll. Memphis, which had been the highest-ranked team, they lost to Tulane. That's right, they lost in Memphis, and that was back on Friday and dropped off the bracket. Georgia Tech was idle and returned to the bracket as the highest-ranked ACC team following Virginia's loss to Wake Forest. How the hell did they lose there? I don't never know. Texas moved up to number 10 after Brigham Young and Virginia both lost. I mean, this is going to be musical chairs for quite some time as I see it. I mean, the SEC's biggest questions will be answered really in Week 12. Think about that. Week 12 is a pivotal one in the playoff race, especially in the SEC. Number 10, Texas, has revived its season with a 4-game winning streak and heads to Athens to face Georgia, ranked number 5 in both the AP and the CFP. And Texas likely needs to win out to keep their playoff hopes intact. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Oklahoma heads to Alabama to take on those Crimson Tide. And listen, it's a must-win for Alabama to retain a top 4 rank and first-round bye. Georgia is on Alabama's heels, ready to take over if Alabama stumbles. Now, Oklahoma needs the win to stay in the playoff conversation. As of now, well, Oklahoma would be knocked out of the bracket by a Group of 5 team if entitled to an automatic bid. Imagine that. Missouri struggled to get momentum rolling on offense without quarterback Bo Pribula, and that game they lost Saturday, falling 38-17 to Texas A&M. And listen, the only reason Texas A&M beat them was because Missouri's quarterback was out, in my opinion. But Matt Zoller, the first rounder, the true freshman quarterback for Missouri since Drew Lock, felt pressure all game long. By halftime, he had completed only 3 of 11 for 31, was wiped out twice, and he coughed the ball up too. Texas A&M quarterback Markel Bree, he looked sharp, completing 20 of 29 passes for 221 and hitting Casey Concepcion and Ashton Bethel-Roman for touchdowns. And Reed ran the ball 5 times for 25 yards. I mean, we're going to see what the hell happens here. Tell you what, coming back, more college football because we can. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven, gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number.
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Stop it!
Excellent.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, Stitcher, YouTube, Deezer, plus a whole bunch more. Make sure to check out the nearly 3,000 shows for the Sports Circus. Lots of great shows, folks. Got to tell you, it's been a lot of fun over the last, we'll call it 9 years, and boy, it's just one thing after another, and it's been a lot of fun. Some great guests on these shows, from Super Bowl champions to World Series champions to Grammy Award winners, Academy Award winners to billionaire business people and presidential candidates and all kinds of great stuff. Folks, it has been a lot of fun for me doing this work with the Sports Circus. And I've brought a lot of my friends onto the show, and it's really been cool having easy conversations, not rapid fire stuff. No, easy conversations with people you know. I mean, people you really know, not just, well, you know, I met Joe Blow here at this particular thing or Josephine Blosephine at this particular thing. No, real stuff. And, you know, there's some really good down-home conversations about just life and what it's like to do this or what it's like to do that, or where was it difficult? Why was it difficult? What did you have a hard time with? What was easy? And talk to me about the community and what have you done for the community? What have people done for you? That kind of stuff. And even the student athlete spotlight, bringing on some really spectacular humans, great students that happen to be really good in athletics, but they're very, very good for the community as well. There's kind of a common theme here, folks. If you're not good to other people, I don't want you on this show. I want you as productive in the human world as well as the athletic world and the academic world, absolutely. And I say that because I'm an academic recruiter as well. I have been for the last 25 years. 25 years I've been an academic recruiter for Duke University, and it has been an absolute pleasure, and I continue to do it. I'm fortunate to be able to speak to some of the brightest kids in America, and what an honor and a privilege it is that I've been given the opportunity from such an esteemed university, one of the best in the world. And wow, what a great experience that is. All right. Well, anyway, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, just talking about the show and stuff, and I said I was going to get into the standings here because it does matter. The standings for these universities and colleges absolutely matters for a bunch of reasons, and we're going to start over in the American Athletic Conference, not to be confused with the ACC. This is the AAC, and Navy leads the AAC at 5-1. They sit a half a game above South Florida and Tulane and North Texas and East Carolina. They're all 4-1. Why does this matter? Because this could play into the group of 5, last team in, so to say. And if it goes into the last team in the group of 5, the best record or the best conference winner. Well, these teams are all in play. Well, actually, East Carolina is not because they have 3 losses. But North Texas is in place because they're the team with the best record in the AAC at 8-1. Imagine the Mean Green. Boy, what a great name. Imagine the Mean Green getting in to the college football playoff. Now, that would be cool. So, North Texas has a real shot in this AAC if they can win the conference. Because you look at that ranking setup, you say, well, where the hell is North Texas? Yeah, they got a couple of votes. They got 10 votes. However, if they end up winning the AAC and for some reason James Madison ends up not winning the Sun Belt, now we have a whole different conversation here. And it looks like North Texas could slip in there even above Tulane. Because remember, Tulane's got 2 losses now. That's why this stuff matters. So watch out for the Mean Green. They have a shot out of the AAC. Now, over in the ACC, right now it's Georgia Tech leading the way. And Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, and SMU are all 5-1 in the ACC. Now, Duke just lost their game to Connecticut. Now, Connecticut, here's an interesting thing. So, Duke lost its game, but it was to a non-conference foe. So, they're independent, like Notre Dame. So, Duke is just a half a game behind Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pitt, SMU. That's right. They are 4-1. The other teams are 5-1. So, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks could change everything. Now, remember, Pitt, they have a non-conference game hosting Notre Dame in their next one. However, they still have a couple of other games to consider here, thinking about what could happen in the ACC. Duke still has a chance, believe it or not. But Georgia Tech right now is in the driver's seat. If they win out, they're in at 8-1. Now going down the trough to win the ACC, believe it or not, Louisville still has a shot at 4-2 as well. So it goes really 6 teams deep. There are 6 different teams that really could win the ACC because there's 5 1-loss teams, and then there's Louisville at a 2-loss team. Miami doesn't have enough wins because they're 3-2 in the conference, and the cutoff really, as I see it, is 4-2 because there's at least a couple of games left here. And Louisville is also 7-2 overall, so they still stand an outside chance. However, the ACC, I wouldn't say it's wide open, but there's a lot to be determined in this conference. Talk about a disappointment, though. Boston College is winless in the conference. They've only won 1 game this year. Only 1. That's it. And they won it at home. But they're on a 9-game losing streak. So they started the season with a win, and the wheels have completely come off. The biggest head scratcher to me in this, actually there's 2 of them, are Syracuse, a 1-win team, and Florida State, a 1-win team. Florida State's a pretty good 1-win team. Syracuse, boy, it seems like their 3 wins, they are giant killers when it comes to the big wins. I mean, beating teams like Clemson and whatnot. It just seems to me that Syracuse is a really unpredictable squad, but boy, I'd like to see them bowl eligible. I don't think they can make it there, but boy, that's a team that you truly never know what's going to happen with those guys. Florida State, 1 more win. They'll be bowl eligible. Florida State's a pretty good squad. And Stanford has just laid an egg since coming into the ACC in the same way that Cal has, and in the same way that the third team has rumbled in there, but not so bad. Because SMU, although they haven't done much in basketball, they sure have done they've done a lot more in football than basketball. So SMU is contending for the ACC as well at 5-1. So they could win the SMU. They could win the ACC. That would be SMU. But anyway, folks, now we don't correct it in post production. Now we just leave it there and whatever. So again, the ACC is wide open. Let's take a look at the Big 12 real quick. Now this one, in my opinion, it's Texas Tech and then everybody else. Texas Tech is the class of the Big 12 right now. Could they get a second team in the playoff? I don't know. Because the team, they just handled Brigham Young at home relatively easy. I think it was 29-7 or something to that effect. Brigham Young being a defensive squad, well, They're a good one, but obviously not good enough to keep the offense of Texas Tech off the field. And so, although BYU, believe it or not, if Cincinnati loses, they have the same record as BYU in the conference. BYU's 5-1, Cincinnati's 5-1. Texas Tech is 6-1. So believe it or not, BYU could get another crack at Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. Is that fair? Well, I guess it is. I mean, their only loss would be to Texas Tech. So what happens if they beat them? So how does that work? Would you get two teams from the Big 12 into the tournament? I mean, you're going to see two from the Big 10. You'll see two from the SEC. So I guess why not? Why wouldn't you see two from the Big 12? So I guess in a perfect world, if Cincinnati happens to lose a game, right? You got to think of what Cincinnati could do or what they may do, right? So let's go ahead and think about what could happen here. So let's go to Cincinnati. Let's take a look at the Bearcats real quick, and let's take a look at what they've done this season. Who have they lost to? Oh, that's right. They lost to Nebraska in the home opener. And who else did they lose to? Let's see. They lost to Cincinnati, Oklahoma. Oh, they beat Baylor. They lost to Utah. So Brigham Young, technically, if they play Brigham Young on Saturday, November 22, BYU would then have the tiebreaker over Cincinnati, and that would catapult BYU into the championship game for the Big 12 Conference. How do you like that? They could play for a second time, and that would be for potentially one of the big seats for the college football playoffs. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
She got up. My, isn't this an awkward moment?
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out the store over at the Sports Circus. The holidays are coming up. People are going to be looking for gifts. And guess what? Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, pants, blankets for the cooler weather, coffee mugs, travel mugs, mouse pads, pillows, blankets, you name it, they're all there with the Clever Sports Circus logo on them. That is, the store at thesportscircus.com. A shameless plug, of course, for the circus. And we always get the super applause. All right. All right, folks. Welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know you are. Everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Thanks again for joining us. Fun group. Talk about favorite foods, favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check it out, folks. All right. So we left off with the Big 12, and it looks like we may, if BYU can beat Cincinnati in just a couple of weeks, we may end up with a rematch of Texas Tech and Brigham Young on a neutral field. Now, that could change the landscape of what could happen in the Big 12 as far as the champion goes. But, of course, the game will be played somewhere down in Texas because I believe the home of, I'm not sure of this, but I believe the home field for the Big 12 championship, I want to say it is in Houston. So something to that effect. Anyway, so it would technically still be a home game for Texas Tech, and they would have a chance to beat up on Brigham Young yet again and to further put an exclamation point on their incredible season. Texas Tech, the only blemish they had was a loss at Utah, and it was really a bad loss. It's obvious they were looking past Utah to get to the next team, but Utah, that was a signature win for them, and Utah sits at 4-2 overall and 7-2. I'm sorry, 4-2 in the Big 12 and 7-2 overall, so they'll find themselves likely in Florida on New Year's Day or something to that effect when it comes to bowl games. So Utah is a solid club. Nonetheless, we'll see what happens over there. Now let's shift over into the Big Ten. The Big Ten, it's a little bit more clear because you've got Indiana in first place in the Big Ten at 7-0. Overall, they're 10-0, the only 10-0 team in America. Today, 6-0, perfect 6-0 at home, 4-0 on the road. Ohio State at 6-0. They sit a half a game behind Indiana because they played one less game. And USC at 5-1. So something catastrophic would have to happen for either the number one or the number two team not to win the Big Ten. So what could that be? Well, it could be the guys from Columbus. Now think about this, folks. If they lose to Michigan, mind you, they still have Michigan the last game of the season. Then they, the week before that, on the 22nd, they face Rutgers at home. And the week before that, on the 15th, next week, they're hosting UCLA. So they've got two cupcakes. Well, I would even call UCLA a cupcake right now because they do have the ability to upset teams. UCLA could come in and shock those guys from Columbus. And we certainly know that Michigan lately has had the number of those guys from Columbus. So you never know what's going to happen there. So they can actually have themselves one loss. So that one loss could be potentially against Michigan. Now, guess what? Michigan has one loss as well in the Big Ten. Now, when you look at what they've done, well, who did they lose to in the Big Ten? They lost to USC. So they have the tiebreaker over USC. Now, USC sits in third place at 5-1. Think about that one. So if Ohio State loses to Michigan, and then Indiana, they have to host Wisconsin, and then they get to host Purdue. Two teams they should be able to beat. However, if there's a loss, then USC and Indiana potentially could play for the Big Ten title and possibly leaving Ohio State out of the picture. Now imagine that. I mean, look, stranger things have happened here, folks. And I'm not really sure what the metric is and how they determine the tiebreaker. Overall, USC has 2 losses, right. Now, Oregon, because they lost head-to-head to Indiana, Indiana has the tiebreaker over them. And Oregon still has to play Minnesota at home. They play USC at home, and then they travel up to Seattle to play Washington. So they've got a few games left, a couple of them that are pretty meaningful games. And of course, the game against USC is a very meaningful game. But remember, if Oregon beats USC, so what happens is then they leapfrog past USC with the tiebreaker. And if Michigan beats Ohio State, that gives them 1 loss. But Michigan would leapfrog Ohio State for the Big Ten title game. Imagine that. But now it couldn't be Oregon because even if Indiana lost one of its games, Indiana still has the tiebreaker over Oregon. Right, so you scratch your head and say, well, what in the world? What has been going on here in the Big Ten? And when you look at the teams that Indiana has played, all right, well, reality is in the conference, they destroyed Illinois. They beat Iowa. They beat Oregon at Iowa. They beat Oregon at Oregon. They beat Michigan State. They destroyed UCLA. They clobbered Maryland at Maryland. They just beat Penn State in Happy Valley, right? And you ask yourself, can this team fall out of the Big Ten championship game? No, they really can't, because they're going to win at least one of the 2 games. And even if they win 1 out of the 2 games, what does that do? Number one, it puts one of the 2 teams, it puts them at, we'll call them 8-1 in the conference. And if they're 8-1 in the conference, guess what? Given the fact that Ohio State could actually lose to Michigan, that would put them at 7-1 or 8-1, I should say. I think it's, let me see. I think they play 1, 2. They have 3 games left too. So if they win the other 2 and they lose to Michigan, that puts them at 8-1 also. However, Michigan would leapfrog the others, and Michigan, if they would win out, they would end up in the championship game against Indiana. So what a disaster that is. But it's awful fun to look at it. And the fact that we don't have divisions, East and West, or this division versus that anymore, it changes everything. Now, let's shift over to Conference USA real quick, because there's some good football being played there, but there is really no possibility of these teams going to the college football playoff. Kennesaw State is the best team in there at 5-0 in the conference. Western Kentucky is at 5-1. They sit a half game behind Kennesaw. And they are 7-2 as well overall as Kennesaw, being Western Kentucky. That's it. Nothing is going to happen out of there. Independence, we already know what's going on there. Somehow Notre Dame is in this picture, and I just don't agree with it. I don't like it because they don't play a conference championship game. Over in the Mid-American Conference, none of these teams are going to make the college football playoff because they all have 3 losses or more. But it's the Bobcats of Ohio, the Bulls of Buffalo, Miami of Ohio, and Western Michigan. They're all 4-1, and there's going to be a lot of shuffling going on around here. And by the way, Central Michigan, Toledo, and Ball State all are 3-2, so they all sit 1 game behind those teams. A lot of shuffling going to happen over in the Mid-American. Over in the Mountain West, that one, there's still a little bit to be determined. San Diego State and Boise State are still 4-1. The 2 teams that are 4-1 in the conference. Hawaii is 4-2. Who knew? They're 4-2 and 7-3 overall, but San Diego State is 7-2 overall. So what does that mean? If San Diego State ends up winning the division or winning the conference. It doesn't mean that they're going to get a college football playoff berth. It just means that they'll probably end up going to the Las Vegas Bowl, is my best guess, right here at Allegiant Stadium here in town. Now, over in the Pac-2, because, well, there's really only 2 teams left in the Pac-12, which didn't even have 12 in the first place. So those guys, Oregon State is 1-0, and Washington State is 0-1 in conference play. It doesn't matter because both teams are terrible anyway. Oregon State just lost, believe it or not, to Sam Houston State. I mean, what an embarrassing loss that was, in my opinion. And neither team wanted to win the game. Late interceptions, throwing the ball when they shouldn't be thrown. What an abomination. It was awful. Anyway, those teams aren't going anywhere. Over in the SEC, better yet, let's go to the Sun Belt first. Sun Belt has James Madison out in front, like I said. When we start talking about the CFP, James Madison, if they run the table, they get a shot to get into, about a 35% chance to get into the college football playoff. Even Southern Miss, if they knock them off, Southern Miss won't get in because they don't have the record that James Madison does. It's James Madison or nobody from the Sun Belt. And there's some good football being played here in the Sun Belt Conference. All right, over to the SEC. We're going to finish up there. The SEC, of course, we have Texas A&M on top, and they're 6-0, Alabama 6-0 in conference. And then you have Georgia at 6-1, Ole Miss 5-1, Texas 4-1. But when you look at the teams that could make or probably will make the college football playoff, right now, as it stands, it looks like you're going to get 3, maybe 4 teams from the SEC in there, in A&M, Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. I don't think Texas is going to get in there. I think they're going to end up losing in their next game, and it's going to take them out of contention. So you might see 4 teams from the SEC. And looking at that, you see, well, what about the Big Ten? You see 1, 2, you'll see possibly 3 teams from the Big Ten, maybe 4 from the SEC. Because the SEC still is to be determined. You have 2 undefeateds and 2 one-loss teams. Actually, you have 3 one-loss teams. I just don't think Texas is going to get in there. I believe the dark horse in there is Ole Miss. Watch out for Ole Miss. They have 1 loss, 1 conference loss, and it wasn't by much. Georgia also. They've won their last 5. And Alabama's won the last 8. Texas A&M, of course, undefeated. Even Texas won their last 4. I mean, anything can happen in the SEC. And then sitting on the outside of the picture, who will make a really good bowl game but not be in the playoff, is Vanderbilt. They do have 2 losses, but boy, this Vanderbilt team is an awful, awful good team. I mean, these guys are good. When they play at home, they win. Oklahoma, somehow, I don't even know how they're in the conversation with 2 losses. But if Oklahoma's in the conversation, Vanderbilt needs to be in the conversation as well, because they actually are a half a game ahead of Oklahoma at 8-2 versus the 7-2 of Oklahoma. Everybody else below that, sorry, Tennessee, Rocky Top, you're done. Missouri, you're done. LSU, you're on the toilet. Everybody else, Florida, Kentucky, Miss State, Auburn, South Carolina, and Arkansas. I feel like it's hard to understand Arkansas being winless in conference play in the SEC, but boy, times sure have changed, haven't they? Anyway, that's going to do it for the Sports Circus today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.